Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Crowd Share Podcast. And today is going to be the second half of the bowl games. Now, if you have not seen my other video or videos, since all of them are going to be out at the same time, if you have not seen my first few, if you have not seen either of my other videos on the bowl games, the way I'm doing this and the way I will be doing this if I keep doing this podcast, the way I'll be doing this is I'll have one video for the pre-Christmas bowl games, so all the bowl games before Christmas, before like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Another video for the bowl games after Christmas or before Christmas. So one video for all the bowl games before Christmas, another video for all the bowl games after Christmas, and then another video just for the New Year's Six and CFP National Championship, all in its own category. So this is all non New Year's Six bowls. So that will be in its own video. If you want that, you can obviously go and find that. I'll put these all out at the same time, and then I'll just link all the different videos in the description down below, so you can just go right to the next one pretty quick. Starting with the post-Christmas bowl games here, we actually have starting in Detroit the Quick Lane Bowl of Bowling Green and Minnesota. Shockingly enough, even at 5-7, Minnesota still ended up making the bowl game somehow. So they actually, I think, are the only 5-7 team that actually went to a bowl game this year. They will be in Detroit taking on Bowling Green. Bowling Green is actually led by another Big Ten quarterback. I talked about that in the previous video with Northern Illinois and Rocky Lombardi. I think Connor Bazelak is actually the starting quarterback for Bowling Green, former Missouri transfer, went to Indiana for I think a year, maybe two, and then ended up transferring and going instead to Bowling Green. And he was Missouri, went to Indiana for a year, then transferred over here to Bowling Green. So he has maybe some familiarity with the Gophers. And as for Minnesota, their starting quarterback is gone. Kaliak Manis entered the transfer portal, so he has left the program. And with that being the case, I don't trust a team without its starting QB, so give me Bowling Green. Minnesota, even with Kaliak Manis, wasn't good. This is not a good Minnesota team. I got Bowling Green taking this one. Then we have the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, the Texas State up against Rice. Now, you would probably see these two teams and you'd go, okay, this is a boring bowl game. But believe it or not, these two teams actually have at one time Power 5 starting quarterbacks for massive Power 5 schools. Texas State has TJ Finley, if you remember him. He was a former LSU guy, transferred to Auburn and played for a little bit for the Auburn Tigers. Now he's playing for Texas State. As for Rice, you have you have the strange college journeyman, of which you almost never see, and JT Daniels, if you remember that name. Who was first at USC, then went to Georgia, then went to West Virginia, and is now at Rice. So he's been obviously everywhere, and of course so is TJ Finley. But both of these two, TJ Finley also, by the way, is an absolute tank of a man. He is enormous, and he has been dominant at Texas State. He has been very good. So, with that being the case, JT Daniels, he's been okay at Rice, but Texas State but TJ Finley has been a force with the Bobcats. And I mean, how many Sun Belt teams do you know that has a quarterback that's 6'7", 255 pounds? there's not many people, okay? Like that's like one and one, that's like one of one. I mean, you don't really find that very often unless you find the Iowa guy who can't hit the broadside of a barn. Um, that's like the only other guy you're gonna find that has that kind of size. Next, we have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. I believe this is the one that's in Arizona, Chase Field. But we got Kansas and UNLV. I like Kansas in this one. UNLV has not looked sharp to end the season. Kansas has had a very nice season. All of Lawrence, I'm sure, is very happy to be 8-4. Honestly, could it have been better? Yeah, sure. But I think if you're a Kansas fan, when your football program has been a dumpster fire for nearly 20 years, and now all of a sudden it's finally coming back to life, I think you're just happy with anything. And they started the year nice last year. Started 5-0, ended up being 6-6. This year they go 8-4. Drastic improvement. Jalen Daniels also out most of the year, which caused Jason Bean to play pretty much the entire season, and he was awesome for Kansas. I'm pretty sure he's the one that's playing this game, and he'll be really sharp. I think for Kansas again, they get the win over UNLV. Then we have the Military Bowl of Virginia Tech, who actually made a bowl game at 6-6, taking on an 11-2 Tulane team who, kind of a surprise, ended up losing their conference championship. They lost the American. SMU ended up beating them, which might be a surprise to a lot of people. But Tulane, this is still a pretty darn good team. Don't get twisted. This Tulane team still has Michael Pratt, who is a possibility of being a NFL player. I don't buy into that. I'd say he's a decent college player, but I don't know about this dude being some NFL prospect. But this Tulane team to me is much better than Virginia Tech. I like the Green Wave in this one pretty easily. I mean, I don't know that much about Virginia Tech, but the fact they went 6-6 to me is a miracle. And this team just isn't really good. I mean, I've seen, you look at Virginia Tech, and I mean, there's not really much to look at. I mean, they're all over the place. They did kill Virginia in their last game, but they also would get blown out against different teams. They're not that special. So to me, I got Tulane winning it. Then we got the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which is obviously a infamous bowl game for the fact that the winning coach literally actually gets dunked in mayo, which is kind of disgusting when you really think about it. Because personally, for me, I hate mayo. Mayo's nasty. Just no on mayo. Like I hate mayo. But just imagine a coach literally getting a whole tub's worth dumped on top of them. That is gross. But in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which is in Charlotte, North Carolina, I believe, which ironically, Duke's Mayo Bowl, we have North Carolina going up against West Virginia. So both these teams are kind of close to here, but more so a home-ish game, more so a home game for North Carolina in this one. Even so, North Carolina hasn't really been that sharp this year. It's been another disappointing season for them. Of course, Drake May has also entered the NFL draft. He is not playing for this bowl game, which makes it a nightmare for North Carolina because who the heck knows who their other quarterback is. West Virginia, I think, will end up winning this one. It's too bad that Drake May didn't play because this probably actually would have been a pretty fun bowl game between two, decent 8-4 teams. But I got West Virginia winning this one. Maybe it still becomes interesting with whoever the backup is, but they won't get Max Johnson, I don't think, before this bowl games. I don't think he can play for them. So West Virginia. Oh, wow, that fell all the way down. Um, I have to adjust this thing all the time. But Max Johnson, I don't think is going to be eligible for this game. Who is the transfer from Texas A&M that North Carolina has that they got through the transfer portal. So I think West Virginia takes this one. Next, we have the Holiday Bowl of Louisville going and taking on USC. Obviously, the Holiday Bowl infamously played in San Diego. With Holcomb now gone, this game is actually, I think, always played now at Petco Park. USC does not have Caleb Williams for this game. That should tell everyone more than enough for who's going to win this game. If USC even made this a contest, I would be stunned. This team is just bad. Caleb Williams is the only reason they're even 7-5. They're dumpster fire, really. They were supposed to be much better this year. And the fact of the matter is, they lost Jordan Addison. It wasn't even really Caleb Williams' fault. He was still a fine player. I mean, he had obviously the one really ugly game against Notre Dame. But even so, I mean, USC's defense has just been a nightmare all season long. They have been horrible. And I mean, they're giving up near 50 points a game on occasion. It's like you can't do that and expect to win games, and that's just what they did. So it just really tough for Louisville. I'm sorry, for USC, and I got Louisville taking that one pretty easily. Then we have the Texas Bowl of Texas A&M. Taking on Oklahoma State. This is an old Big 12 battle when Texas A&M was still in the Big 12. Of course, they've now since then moved to the SEC, but this is some old Big 12 opponents going up against each other. Oklahoma State is having some interesting issues with the transfer portal, as there's been a lot of rumors that who is now the Doak Walker, Ollie Gordon, their running back, he won Doak Walker this year, is supposedly entering the transfer portal. So I don't know if that's true. Don't quote me on that. I saw that one place, and I haven't seen it anywhere else, and obviously nobody has reported it since, so I don't know if that's just, a rumor that's floating around out there and is never going to come to fruition, or if it actually is going to happen. So don't quote me on that. That's what I saw. And here we go again. But that's what I saw, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure if that's even really true. But in any case, that's what Oklahoma State's looking at. And then for Texas A&M, no Max Johnson, no Walter Nolan, JT Overton. I mean, and there's been a max exodus of players from Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher getting fired and Mike Elko coming in from Duke to come back to Texas A&M to be their head coach. It just with so many guys leaving the Aggie program, it's a mess. Oklahoma State's not really in the greatest of shape either, as I think their team's overrated. But they're not really having the mass exodus that Oklahoma or that Texas A&M is. So I think Oklahoma State gets it done. Then you have the infamous bowl game. We have the big time MLB bowl games, pretty much, essentially. The first one being the more so brand new Fenway Bowl with SMU taking on Boston College, more or less a home game for Boston College, as obviously Fenway is in Boston. Still, I like SMU to win this one. This is a very good SMU team. They have been very sharp all year long. They're a solid offense and a very tough defense. This is why they got done against Tulane. I actually picked SMU to win that game, but this is a really talented SMU team. They have been very good all season. I don't see Boston College really stopping them and doing that. SMU gets the win. Then you have the Pinstripe Bowl. Obviously, this one is always at Yankee Stadium, where you have Rutgers taking on Miami, Florida. This is more so a home game for Rutgers, as Rutgers is in Jersey. I think it's Piscataway, which is pretty close. I would assume it's probably close to New York. So more or less a home, kind of more or less a home game for the Scarlet Knights. Miami, Florida, of course, their starting quarterback has transferred with Tyler Van Dyke, actually transferring to Wisconsin. So interested in seeing how that will work out. But I like Rutgers to win this one. Miami, Florida. Uh, Tyler Van Dyke had been up and down this year, but that was really probably the best thing about Miami, and that was why they had that 4-0 start. This Rutgers team has honestly been well above, I would say, expectations with how how good of a start they had to the year. And they only ended up, of course, at 6-6. I think they actually were 6-2 at one point and lost their last four, but they still have Kyle Monungai as their running back. They have a solid team, and I think they're better than Miami. So I got the Scarlet Knights in the Big Ten taking the win there. Now we have the Pop Tarts Bowl. I believe this used to be the Cheez It Bowl, but now they switched it to Pop Tarts. You have, I wonder, is the winning head coach going to get dumped a bunch of Pop Tarts on him? That'd be weird. But now we have NC State taking on Kansas State. Will Howard is transferring from Kansas State. He is gone. I know there's a quarterback for NC State that's transferring, but I don't know. Well, I don't know. I know it's the backup, but what I don't know is if Brennan Armstrong, he is the starter. I don't know if he is healthy, or even I think he might be. I think he might have been benched, and they started playing the other guy, and then they started winning, obviously, and so they just stuck with him, but then he ended up transferring, so I think it probably goes back to Armstrong. But in either case, I'm still taking NC State. I don't really trust this Kansas State team without Will Howard. Will Howard is a big part of their team, and with him being gone, that's going to make it really tough. So I got NC State. Next one is going to be Arizona and Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. Now, here's one I'm very excited for. Because, yes, Oklahoma did lose their starting quarterback. Dylan Gabriel has transferred and is now going to Oregon for, I think, his last year of eligibility, which is kind of interesting because why leave Oklahoma? You are doing just fine there. But he transfers to Oregon, while in Oklahoma, you'd wonder, well, who's the new quarterback going to be for them, who they have. This is actually one time that we actually know who the other guy is, and that is Jackson Arnold. This is the hot shot true freshman. I'd assume that this would be the guy that is going to play for this game. I don't think that's been officially announced, but I'd have to assume that's who it's going to be. And in the limited time that we saw him, I mean, he's looked good. I mean, he was the number, I think, 3 recruit in the country. In Oklahoma, obviously, got him to sign. I mean, he's a huge, huge talent. And you'd say, well, if he really is that good, then why didn't they just play him over Dylan Gabriel? Well, if you've seen how good Dylan Gabriel was this year, there's a reason. But, Oklahoma's got a very good team. They have a very tough defense, of course. They had 2 tough losses to Kansas and Oklahoma State by a combined 8 points that pushed them not only out of the CFP conversation, but also out of the Big 12 title, out of the Big 12 title chance, which really obviously stinks if you're a Sooners fan. Two close losses to 2 decent teams. They really, both on the road. I mean, it is what it is. But Oklahoma, this is a very good team. This is a very talented team, and they get the Alamo Bowl, of course, and they get the absolutely smoking hot Arizona Wildcats. My stinking goodness, did this team absolutely come out of nowhere. I mean, you look at really what Arizona did, it is just absolutely insane. I mean, they nearly came up with the win against Washington earlier in the year. They had that triple overtime thriller with USC, ended up falling short. And then they just put the hammer down on Washington State on the road, just absolutely eviscerated. No mercy in that game. I mean, my goodness, they really did not let up in that game. Then they took down Oregon State. Then they took down UCLA. They beat Colorado. Then they took down Utah. I mean, this team, and they were just, and they more or less manhandled UCLA. They demolished Utah, and then they demolished Arizona State. I mean, they were on a sinking terror to end the season. This team might be, I mean, honestly, I'd still say this team is the hottest team in college football. That's how good they've been. And I think this is going to be a highly entertaining game because Arizona is going to have most of their players still. I think pretty much they're going to have everybody that was really big for their team still playing in this game because they don't have any like NFL prospects who are coming out, I don't think. So all their best players are going to be playing. Oklahoma's best players are going to be playing minus Dylan Gabriel, but throw in Jackson Arnold. What's really the difference? You know, this is going to be an absolutely awesome game. Last year, the Alamo Bowl was Washington and Texas. That ended up being pretty darn awesome with Penix taking on Quinn Ewers. Ironically, we're going to have that again, except it's going to be a CFP game this year. But Arizona, Oklahoma, going to be an awesome game. But I'm going to go with the Wildcats at the last moment, getting the game-winning drive. Was it Tony Fafita or something Fafita? I can't remember what his first name is. Is it really Tony? No, it's Noah Fafita. He's been awesome. Really excited for that game. I think that's going to be all kinds of fun. Next, we have the Clemson Tigers taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. I don't have much faith really in Kentucky in this game. Kind of like Arizona, Clemson kind of just they had a rough start to the season and then completely flipped the page. Like midway through the year, they put a beat down on Notre Dame and then just never looked back. This Clemson team is playing way better now than they were at the beginning of the season. I got Clemson in the win over Kentucky. Next, we have the Sun Bowl, and that was the Gator Bowl, Clemson and Kentucky. Next is the Sun Bowl, which we have Oregon State, number 19, taking on number 16, Notre Dame. A lot of these teams are missing players. Oregon State has had a mass exodus of people with Jonathan Smith, obviously, leaving Oregon State, leaving his alma mater and going to Michigan State to be their head coach, which has caused DJ Uyagale to transfer, the backup quarterback to transfer. Was it Aiden Childs, I think is how you say it. Both of those guys have transferred. Well, they are transferring. It has yet to be known where they're going to go. There's been several other players for Oregon State that have entered the portal, and Damian Martinez, he hasn't entered the portal as far as I know, but he has been suspended because of an off-field incident, so he's not playing either, which was a huge part of Oregon State's success. As for Notre Dame, Sam Hartman has opted out for the bowl game to prepare for the NFL draft, so they're without their starting QB. However, I don't think their offensive lineman Joe Alt, I don't think he's playing either. But Notre Dame still does have their running back, which is Audric Estime. I believe that's how you say it. But he was pretty darn good for Notre Dame this year, and with that guy still playing, I like Notre Dame's odds. I got the Irish and was going to be probably a low-scoring affair. I don't expect many points to be scored in this game, but I got Notre Dame taking the win. Oregon State takes an unfortunate L. There's too many people who aren't playing for them. Then next we have the Liberty Bowl of Memphis against Iowa State. Now, if you don't know, earlier in my first video I said, obviously, because I kept saying, I keep saying like Memphis at Iowa State, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, these are all bowl games. There's never really a literal home game. There's not a home game for anybody. These are all just, These are all bowl games. They're all neutral sites. Well, Memphis's home field is the Liberty Bowl. So, in essence, well, not in essence, it is another home game for them. So pretty kind of fun if you're probably a Memphis Tiger fan. But also I got Memphis winning this one. Iowa State is an overall solid team. Overall, they have been decent. They're okay defensively. They're okay offensively. In every aspect, they're respectable, but nothing really stands out. As for Memphis, their offense is dynamite. This is a very good offense. Defense is really kind of non-existent, but this Memphis offense is nasty, and it'll be a fun game I think for sure. But I got Memphis getting it over Iowa State. Next, we have the Music City Bowl of Auburn going up against Maryland. Really, the only thing I've known this bowl game for is just their horrible end zones. I don't know what I don't know who they have hired to like do their end zones because obviously like how they do, they have like the end zone art, and so they'll put like the team's letters and colors in the end zone. But for whatever reason, like the past few years I've watched like really one year was really bad. And it's been like a consistent problem, I guess. I think last year the Music City Bowl or whatever year it was. It was 2 years ago, I think. There was a Music City Bowl with Tennessee and Purdue. And this is played at the Tennessee Titans home field. So this is I think it's Nissan Stadium. So this is the Titans home field. And so you look at the end zone, and you see like the Tennessee coloring, and you see all you see like the Tennessee lettering, Tennessee coloring, and all that. And then right in the middle, you still have the Titan just letters just slapped right on top of there, and you can still see the Titan coloring as well. It's like, what did they do? Like, did they forget to get rid of get rid of the Titan the Titan letters there? Like, what? How is that? What happened there? That's very weird. I don't know what's going on with their end zones over there. I don't know, they just don't know how to get rid of them for some reason. But like, it's weird if you keep looking at Music City Bowl games. It's like a consistent problem where they always have the Titan lettering still in the end zone, and it's never gone away. It just looks ugly because you got they're trying to plaster the new end zone art on there, and there's still the Titan letters stuck in there. It looks so bad. It was hilarious. I think I've seen it I definitely saw it during that Tennessee Purdue game. I can't remember who was in the Music City Bowl last year, but it's so funny. But now we have Auburn and Maryland. This Auburn team is decent, and actually is led now by Peyton Thorne, also a former Michigan State quarterback. So he knows Maryland pretty well. But I like the Maryland offense in this one. I got the Terps getting it done. It's gonna be a fun game for sure. But I think Maryland will pull out a close one here in Nashville. Uh, Yeah, it is Nashville. Pulling off a close one here in Nashville and getting it done against the Auburn Tigers. They go to 8-5. Then you have the Barstool, or you have the Arizona Bowl of Toledo taking on Wyoming. Toledo has lost its starting quarterback. He has entered a transfer portal. Haven't heard that one before, I'm sure. And so I got Wyoming taking this one. Obviously, as I've said before, no starting quarterback makes it kind of tough. So I got Toledo, or I got Wyoming getting the win over the Toledo Rockets in this one, and going to 9-4. Next, we have the ReliaQuest Bowl of Wisconsin going and taking on LSU. Yeah, I'm very. If you're wondering why they're even doing this, this is very confusing to me as well. I don't really understand why this is a bowl game, and well, my guess is that this is what they ended up with because I think there's like a specific uh, Big Ten team like ranked at this spot that they have to take, and SEC team ranked this specific spot that they have to take. But man, this is such a bad matchup. And even for Wisconsin, their running back, Raylan Allen, has entered the NFL draft, and he is not playing, which is such a huge part of their team. And LSU has, well, the Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels. Now, I'm sure there's a chance that he doesn't play this game and just says, yeah, I have an NFL future to worry about. Yeah, I ain't risking injury, so sorry. But there's also a good chance he just ends up playing because he just wants to play. And I got LSU though. I think this is gonna be. I mean, if you guys remember last year, actually, LSU took on another Big Ten. I think it was actually in the Citrus Bowl right here, which is a different FCC and Big Ten team. But I think last year, LSU, yeah, last year LSU, this same LSU team, they took on Purdue after they had lost to Michigan in the Big Ten title game, and LSU just creamed them. I don't even. I think the final score was like, yeah, it was like 63-17 or something. It was, it was bad. But LSU, I got them taking down Wisconsin. Don't know if it'll be 63-17, but it could get bad for sure. So now we have the Citrus Bowl of Iowa taking on Tennessee. I have no faith in this Iowa team to score any points. I mean they don't have an offense. They might score 3 points against Tennessee. They might, but Tennessee has a better offense. Iowa, Iowa's a really good defense. So that they're going to do a good job of probably slowing down the Tennessee offense. They're not going to allow Tennessee to, run up the score and get obviously 30. It could end. I mean, this game could end up being something like 16-3. I could definitely see that. Just I don't think Iowa doesn't have an offense. I mean, it's like an Iowa tradition. They never have offense. They never can find anything on the offensive end. Honestly, if you're I just gotta imagine if you're an Iowa fan, how long have you been watching these Iowa offenses just do nothing for ages? Just year after year, you get absolutely nothing from them, and you're just going, what do we do anymore? What do we do at this point? you know. So I'm sorry for poor Iowa fans. Just absolutely nothing. Just no offensive capability, and they haven't had it for like a decade. But yeah, I got Tennessee with the win. It could be close. It'll probably be low scoring because, well, that's how every Iowa game is. But I got Tennessee. I think they're just a better team. So that's it for this half. We still got one more to go, and that's New Year's 6. So that's it for this half. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you around the next one. And until then, adios, everybody.